Welcome back to another episode of Packing Up and Piecing Out, the podcast where two American girls spill the tea on what it really takes to move abroad. I'm Taylor, an American in Prague, and this is
Lili, an American in London. And this week on Packing Up and Piecing Out, we're doing something a little bit different. So as you guys may know, I am a podcast editor and manager. That is kind of my freelance career that I've been doing for a few years. And I talked about it on a previous episode in more depth. The episode was called Building a Freelance Career That Funds Your Move Abroad Dream. I think that might be a good episode to listen to before today's. But today's episode is going to be joining that with Packing Up and Piecing Out because we have one of my amazing clients on the podcast, or two actually, Colleen and Kristine of Embrace the Squiggle podcast, who talk all about career pivots and squiggles. And I was inspired to invite them on because Taylor mentioned that she's been having some career doubts or maybe some career squiggles about, okay? And you'll hear about them in the episode. So basically, we're having Colleen and Kristine on to just help us through our career journeys right now. So if you are going through a difficult career transition or you're just interested in what it's like to have a bit of career coaching, it's a bit of a different type of episode, but I thought it was really fascinating. So if you're interested in career squiggles, navigating careers abroad, this is a good one for you. So without further ado, let's get into the episode. Welcome to the podcast, Colleen and Kristine. We're so happy to have you guys on Packing Up and Piecing Out. This episode is going to be a little bit different than our usual episodes, but we're really excited because both me and Taylor are going through some interesting career squiggles, as you might call them. So just first to start, I'd love if you could both introduce yourselves to our audience and tell them a little bit about what you do professionally.
Sure. So hi everyone, I'm Colleen, and professionally, I always hate doing this because I'm like, here's the 932 things that I do. So I have done career coaching since I graduated college way back in 1992. So that has been part of my kind of career path forever now. But a lot of the work I do now is with corporate partners around getting teams to work really well together. So for individuals to understand themselves and have a great team. And I run a podcast that, you know, the fabulous Lili here produces for me. Or for us. So
shout out.
I will pass it over to Kristine.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. I'm Kristine. Well, I'm going to start with I've squiggled several times. So super high level. I went to college, started out in the world of business, thought I would love to become an accountant. When I realized I couldn't sit long enough to do bank reconciliations, that wasn't going to work for me. So I made my first squiggle into recruitment, where I was a headhunter, specializing in accounting and finance. I then squiggled into higher education, where I oversaw a career services portfolio for our alumni and supporting them in their careers around the world. And then I made another squiggle into entrepreneurship, which is where I've been for the last 5 years. I have a coaching and consulting business. In terms of the coaching, yes, absolutely, I do career coaching, leadership development, and I've actually taken sort of my practice into working with individuals in terms of just more of the neuroscience piece, EQ piece, what else? Emotions. So I get a little bit more touchy-feely with my clients in terms of who they are from a personal development, which ultimately impacts their professional development.
Mm-hmm. Wow, so interesting, and I think very applicable. But I think what we should start with next is Taylor, maybe you introduce yourself a bit in terms of your career and kind of where you're at right now, that maybe you're looking for help from our two wonderful squiggly career coaches.
Sure. I love this concept of doing a squiggle because I see myself as someone who will probably have many of them throughout the course of my career also. But I studied
We all
political
do.
communication. Yeah, yeah. My mom has done a huge one. She was a lawyer and now she owns a luxury cat hotel.
Wait,
So
I didn't know she was a
totally
lawyer.
different.
This is a surprise.
What?
No.
You didn't?
Wait, luxury
yeah.
cat hotel?
Yeah, I love how you're surprised about two different things. Yes, yeah. She was a labor and employment lawyer, and now, she owns a luxury cat hotel. It boards cats and private rooms. It's a franchise, and she's very into it. We're both cat lovers, so I think she's definitely found something that's she's more passionate about. I think at this stage in her life.
That.
But I studied political communication at university, but even before graduating, I knew that I was going to work in the rare disease industry. So I have a family history of a rare disease, and I'm very involved in the community, and I met a lot of people when I was in college who would work for different companies in the rare disease space, whether tech companies or pharmaceutical companies, helping them with their patient advocacy and patient marketing. So I knew that that was a good fit for me. So that's what I started doing after college. I graduated during COVID, so all of my post-college jobs have been remote. After being at that company for about 2 years, they were acquired, and I did some consulting and contracting for them, and I decided to go on my own and be a patient advocacy consultant, which is what I refer to myself as now, except I'm not really doing much of that work now. Now I'm actually part-time running my nonprofit organization, and then also part-time working for an immigration organization that my former boss is also doing marketing work for. So I've been doing that this year. And I feel like I'm at the stage where I'm just really focused more on financial stability and the paycheck that I get from these two things. I also do a bit of content creation, but I usually make less than $800 a month on that. So I don't necessarily see that as something that will become a big part of my income. And I do have like another idea, sort of not a full like 360 flip, but something that I think I want to start building, but I think I've been putting it off because it just seems like a momentous task. And it's sort of transitioning my patient advocacy consulting more into focusing on, not to get too into the weeds, but IVF with genetic testing. That's a big topic in my community, and that's something eventually I'll do because the disease that I carry is fatal in males. And there's a lot of companies now in this space that provide these, tests for specific debilitating terminal diseases. And I kind of want to more focus in that area because I feel like it's more specific to me, and I'm really passionate about women's health, and I feel like I'd be able to combine rare disease and women's health with more of a focus in this space. But I feel like I balance so many different things at once. Obviously, I also do this podcast. I create content for a lot of Prague-based businesses, usually on a barter basis or just for their benefit, like just to promote them to my audience. So I think I'm always just thinking, I don't have time to do anything else, and I'll just stay in what I'm doing now because I'm making as much money as I need. I want to make more, but I'm like, I'm good where I am now. But it's been like a year that I've been in this position, and I feel like I don't feel satisfied, I think, with my day-to-day working life. So I think that's sort of an overview.
Wow.
So what part of your day, week, month, do you feel the most motivated? What are you doing?
I think I feel the most motivated after I have a conversation with someone, probably at this stage having to do with my nonprofit, so like a medical professional or just someone related to my nonprofit that I can really talk about our mission. And this is also focused on carriers of specific diseases, so it's in line with my patient advocacy. But I dread phone calls so much, but I feel like after them I do feel pretty energized when I have a good conversation and I can actually talk about the things I'm passionate about with my advocacy, because I work from home. Like I said, I always have worked from home my entire career. And so I can get kind of lonely, I think, when, I don't know, in my old job, I would have like 7 calls a day. So I prayed for the days that I would have no calls on one day during the week. And now I have very few. But I don't know. Now I'm almost like, oh, I wish I had maybe more calls or more conversations to feel energized by.
That's good data right there.
So I think, when folks come to me and they say, I have no idea, like, what I want to do next, right? Nothing, right? I could be, I don't know, right, an astrophysicist next, or an accountant, or a retail manager, right? That's hard when people have zero clue. You have the idea of the kind of mission and vision of a place that you want to work for, right? The mission, vision, and values, right? You want to work for a place that has that lens. And so if we were going to sit down and be like, okay, let's make a to-do list for Taylor. Like, these are the tasks that I would have you do next. Because, we only have the length of a short podcast and not 6 months of coaching to do. So here's what I'd put you through, right? I would have you start with making a list of all those companies that you think are even a possibility, right? Like, I don't know, maybe there's 50 of them. Maybe there's only 5. I don't know. Look and see what's out there. And once you start that list, then start looking on LinkedIn or on the company website, right? Depending on the company, if people are there on LinkedIn, and start looking at what do people do who work there? What are the job titles? Now, the job titles may not tell you anything, right? So there are times that you look at a job. I have had job titles, particularly I think in higher ed, that do not match my day-to-day work in the least. And so look at the job title, try to look at what they do. And ideally, if you're really in the, I want to launch in 6 months into this new career, I tell folks, in an ideal world, you're having 5 conversations a week with people who do a job that is interesting to you. So either the job is interesting or the place is interesting. And when you're having those conversations, they don't have to be, and they shouldn't be, like, hey, Lily, can you help me find a job? They can much more be like, hey, Lily, what you do is really interesting. Can you talk to me about it? You're trying to kind of squiggle your way into it. But I will say, when people are having these 5 conversations at a time in a week, clarity comes pretty quick. You have one conversation that you're like, ooh, what Kristine does is really interesting. And you end it with, hey, Kristine, who else do you know who does this? Is there someone else I could talk to? You talk to the next person, and then you're like, oh, okay, it's still in the maybe pile, or it gets pushed in the no. And as you go through that, it gets easier and easier to just kind of eliminate whole groups and put a whole bunch into the maybe.
That makes a lot of sense. And yeah, I haven't even sat down, and I know a few companies off the top of my head who work in that IVF PGT space. But I'm just the kind of person where I think on the outside, people always think that I'm like really motivated, but I feel like I struggle to motivate myself often to like do things, even though I feel so stressed about them, I like can't make myself sit down and do it. And I live in Prague and in the Czech Republic, and I'm a freelancer. I have like will be like my tax filing. So I kind of have this additional stress of, I don't want to get a Czech job because the salary would be so much lower than what I make now as a freelancer who works mostly for American clients. But it also does feel like I don't have as much security, because if I did have to resort to getting a Czech job, my entire financial situation would change drastically. And so I feel like even though I feel this pressure, I still struggle to make myself just do it. And I like don't know what's wrong with me. Like, I can't just make myself self-motivated enough to just do these tasks and start with these conversations. And I just keep pushing it off. I'm like, I'll wait till 2026. And I don't know.
Find an accountability partner. Like, have, whoever it is, it could be Lily, that you say, okay, Lily, right, if I don't email you, have a Google sheet that you share and say at the end of the week, if you don't have 5 people listed, Lily's going to come back and say, all right, come on, Taylor.
That's a good idea. We should do that.
Right? Catch up.
That's a really good idea. I should do that with my mom though, because my mom will actually be honest and be like, you need to like actually get your shit together. Like there's something wrong with you. Like it's not that hard to like send 5 messages on LinkedIn. Like just do it. Okay. That's a really good idea because I actually sometimes avoid telling people my goals
I
because
totally
I'm
do that.
scared that if I don't if I don't reach them, I don't want that person to know that I've backed out or that I haven't committed to it. So I keep them to myself. And like that doesn't seem like a good thing to do.
Here
Taylor.
comes Kristine with her
Oh
road
yeah,
movement,
I'm
because
coming in.
I can jump right in on this too. Go, Kristine.
Taylor, are you open to doing a little bit of inner work here?
100%.
So when you are feeling the unmotivation, where does it show up in your body?
Well, I have like quite bad chronic headaches and chronic pain in my neck, my jaw, my shoulders. I've had that for as long as I can remember, but yeah, especially like aching jaw and like back of my neck and tension headaches like really badly.
When you sort of focus in on that spot, are you able to give like the tension or that feeling? Can you give it like characteristics, color, texture, sharp
Yeah.
pain,
I would
dull?
s- I would s- I would say it's pretty like a grainy red, almost just like when you see the figure of like a body and it's like showing heat, like a heat map. Like it feels like just this whole area of like my shoulders and above is just all like red and grainy and bumpy and like just strained and like inflamed, and that no matter how many stretches I do, no matter how much meditation I do, every day it's the same.
Same. When was the last time you felt this?
I feel it right now.
Do you? Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
like I have such a bad headache right
Okay.
now.
So my invitation is to close your eyes. And if you had to hone in on that body pain, that sensation, what is it trying to tell you? What message is it trying to send you?
I feel like it's trying to tell me that I'm really hard on myself. Like that I do a lot of negative self-talk, and that even though it's true that I want to be more motivated, I often think of myself as like a lazy person, and I don't think about all the work I do get done. I just think about all I don't get done, and I feel like that just causes this big weight on my shoulders and like this pressure that never goes away.
And what do you want that pressure to know?
I want it to know that I want to be nicer to myself, and I want to feel that I achieve things, and not just that crossing something off my to-do list is just a relief, or finishing a big project is just a relief. I want to actually feel like I've done something important and let my brain allow myself to have that feeling of success, rather than just feeling like I need to move on to the next thing and I need to be better and I need to achieve more and I need to make more money, because I know I'll always want more. Like even if I do launch this new career, I just know that I'm the type of person that I always want more than I have. But I don't want to be that type of person.
So what would it look like to let your heart cross those things off your list rather than your brain?
I feel like it would be nice to feel like little things or big things that I don't know, that I'm actually achieving something and not just relieving a task I have to do and just do them all over the next day. Like, yeah, I always, like in the morning, I set these manifestations and I always write, oh, I am productive, I'm creative, I'm this and that, but I feel like I never actually feel that way. Even though I like I write it down and I try to visualize it, it's really hard to make myself actually feel those things about myself.
So if your heart could write the definition of success, what would it write?
Oh, that's so hard. I think if my heart could write.
Yeah, if your heart could
Okay.
write your definition of daily success, what would your heart write? What would that feel like?
See, it's hard because the first thing that comes to mind for me is money, but that's like my brain talking. I feel like my heart would just be that I just feel content at the end of the day, and even if I have a lot of things to do or things I want to do in my career or even in my self-care or my personal life or my content, that they don't just feel like big weights, like they don't feel like insurmountable tasks. Like I just want to feel content and like with myself, I think, just satisfied like with who I am as a person and what I've accomplished that day, even if it's not a lot. Just like I want to be able to give myself grace that like I'm just a human. So I think that's what success would feel like to me, like contentment in myself.
So beautiful. Where does content show up for you in your body?
I feel it in my chest. Like I do feel it like in my
your heart?
heart area.
Can you give it characteristics, contentment?
I would say it's like, I don't know, I'm getting like Easter vibes. This is weird, but like
love
I'm
it.
getting like I don't know, like I've been really into like coquette, like frilly bowy stuff lately, so I just can kind of like imagining like yellows and lace and like happiness. I don't know, that's just like what I'm kind of
You're beaming.
getting. That might sound really stupid,
No,
but like
You're
I just love that aesthetic.
you're beaming. There's almost like I'm sensing a bit more of a lightness.
Yeah, I definitely feel lighter. And just it's nice to like be silly while talking about like serious things, you know, like
And so how can you bring yourself back to this feeling, this anchor of contentment and lightness?
yeah, I feel like if I just like take a minute and close my eyes and kind of like imagine that, I don't know, Easter vibe, like kind of feel like, I don't know, feel it right here and just think about those things that make me feel, like that happiness and silliness feeling. And I don't know, brings me here with, and less in that constant pain I have in my eye and my head, which even though I do have it now, even just like focusing on this area does actually make it like feel a little bit lighter. Like it feels a little less pounding in my head.
I love that.
Okay, should I open my eyes?
You are
Or am I
welcome.
supposed to have
You
them
are
closed?
welcome to return whenever you want. Whenever you
That
want.
was really nice.
Wow.
I love things like that. Like I really do like this, and I feel like I need to integrate these things more into like a regular basis. Like I've been trying to find like a daily breath work or something. I do think that these things are so important, and I don't take enough time for them in my day to day.
What feels like it's shifted?
I feel like that I actually feel like I'm going to start making the baby steps. Like I actually am going to set some time to make the baby steps in my plan because I've been putting it off, and I feel like I don't know, that I feel like I will feel that happiness if I start taking those steps, and that I'll be able to like feel proud that I just have finally like ripped the Band-Aid off and just started doing it, because I do think it's a really good idea that I have, and it's just right now an idea though. So there's nothing concrete that I've taken, and I think I will feel satisfied once I actually start taking them, and then once I just do it, things will also flow easier from there once I start.
Yeah. Beautiful.
And think about what the real baby steps are, right? I always tell folks, when you get to the point that it's so small that you think, oh, this is stupid, right? Like it's stupid to even add this to the list because it's so tiny. That's the
Yeah,
next step.
I feel like mine is just honestly starting to make. I don't even have any sort of like list. Like I feel like just starting to make, yeah, the most basic like list of like things to do now, things like to do in the future. But yeah, like even just thinking of, I don't know if I'll still have my same consulting name, if I'll change. Yeah, just like basic things I just haven't even dedicated the time, because I'm a very, very big like time blocker too. And so I'm like, oh well, I don't have the time for that today. So I'm just not even going to think about that now. But then I haven't blocked any time for this. So it's like I want to just at least an hour. And I feel like when you actually focus for 1 hour without your phone, it's like I'm always like, wow, I can't believe I did so much.
Yes.
Even
all right.
Even
So
20,
Taylor,
20 minutes, right? Like
I was going to say your baby step 15 two 15-minute blocks next week.
Okay. I'm going to do it tomorrow.
There's your baby step. Because if you do more, great. Right? It's have you read Atomic Habits by James Clear?
I know I haven't. I'm familiar with it.
Okay, like one of my favorite books. But I love his example is always, I want you to go to the gym for 5 minutes a day for a week. And he's like, 5 minutes. And he's like, and you must leave after 5 minutes. And he said, you feel stupid leaving after 5 minutes. And he's like, I guarantee the next week you're going to go for longer and longer and longer because 5 minutes never felt like it was enough. So it almost tricks your brain into wanting more, wanting to do more if you limit yourself to that.
Yeah.
So,
I love the setting timers
trick.
too.
Yeah.
Like I do that for cleaning, and the first time I did that, it was life-changing when I set like 30-minute timer, and I'm like, wow, I cleaned basically everything, and yet I've been putting that off for like 2 weeks, and I did it all in 30 minutes. Like, yeah, that I only do that for cleaning though, so I feel like doing that for other tasks would really help me since it does so well with cleaning.
And celebrate the micro moments. I'm getting the sense that you're an overachiever and, you know, like, I don't know, I might be able to relate a little bit. Welcome to the club, right? And the other piece that I'm going to bring in is when we have our high expectations for ourselves, when we have, say, the achiever or that executing strength that plays so dominantly every day, we sometimes can become, that's an understatement, become disconnected from self-compassion. And that we don't take the moments, like when we don't check all the boxes, then the story we tell ourselves is that we didn't do enough, we are not enough, blah blah blah. And just taking that moment to have a bit of self-compassion on, not so much look at all the things that I didn't do today, but look at the things that I actually did do today, and celebrating those. I call it, my metaphor I use as a grand finale fireworks display, and honestly it doesn't exist. It's all of these little micro moments that accumulate to actually be greater than the final fireworks display of, even, I'm going to even say, like, launching your business. Yes, absolutely huge achievement, but it's going to be the journey that you take to get there that is going to mean more in the end than actually being like, okay, today's launch day. So it's the gentleness. It's just being gentle on yourself and knowing that this is fun and it's exploration and it's learning and it's curiosity, and it's just conversation.
Yeah. And I think part of it for me is that I achieved a lot of like pretty big things at a young age. Like I'm 27 now, but when I was like 6 years ago, I published a book, and I've done like a lot of not a lot of international speaking, a lot of speaking, some international. And even when I was a teenager, I always had people saying, oh, you're so accomplished for your age. And now I almost feel like nothing feels good enough anymore because of those things I did when I was younger. Like it feels like nothing feels like an achievement.
So you're comparing.
Yeah, kind of to what I did in the past. And now I'm like, I'm older now, and I'm like not doing as good things anymore.
Okay, so here's a question. And I don't know about timing here because we could go on and on and on. But, I would leave you with this inquiry of how can you leverage those successes into this next chapter, because they're still part of you. they don't just sit back there. They're still in your toolbox. And so it's like, well, I did these things, so how can I use those experiences to motivate or to show up or to, whatever it is, because they are part of your story.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate the advice. Like, I needed this so badly, and I really think it will help some of our listeners, because Lily and I are like in two situations, but totally different ones. So I think this will be super helpful.
Yeah,
conversation.
I feel like I learned a lot from that bit as well. But I guess if we want to go into more my situation, which is a bit different than Taylor's, which I've shared a bit on this podcast, and Colleen and Kristine about, but just in summary, I have been in my job hunt now for a little bit over 2 months here in London, and I'm trying to break into a new industry, doing something that I have experience in, but most of my experience is freelance or contract work, and I don't have some, big shiny corporate name on my resume as of now, and I'm just finding it really hard to get any sort of traction and navigate a job market, in a new country where I don't know anyone, and everyone, the advice I get every single day during, this job hunt is it's all about who you know. And that's just so much easier said than done when you are in a city that you moved to a year ago, So I know you both help people navigate the job hunt, and yeah, so that's how I'll start. I don't have a question. I just have a big feeling in my soul, especially, I don't know, today. So some days during my job hunt, I'm like up on the high. I'm like, things are going well, things are happening. Then other days it's like, I am never going to get a job ever. And there's actually no jobs on planet Earth. And I'm having one of those days. So I don't know if that's good or bad for this podcast. Yeah.
I think it's real. Like, you're just being real and raw about the ups and the downs, and every day does feel different. Even in entrepreneurship, I get up every morning and I'm like, here we go again. Like, who knows what will present itself every day. So I can relate to that feeling for sure. 100%. Yeah. And when someone says to you, it's who you know, say, great, thank you so much. Who can you introduce me to in your network?
I've awesome. Done that, and then a lot of people will say, "Well, I don't know anyone." Yeah, but no, you're right.
That's because they're not doing their career management and keeping up on their own networks.
Okay,
I would bet. Yeah, to some degree. Did you guys talk about it over when you were visiting last week?
When I met Colleen for dinner last week? A little bit, but mostly we were staying on cheery topics.
Okay. I just thought I would check in so we're not duplicating.
No.
I mean, some of it is figuring out, right, how do you meet the people? And I've been watching you on LinkedIn and on TikTok, and you're doing a lot of the things right. Right? Is there always something else people can do? Of course, right? There's always kind of a different path that you can take or something different. But you're going to conferences. You're reaching out to people on LinkedIn. You're having the conversations. I would push you to do the same thing that I told Taylor to do, which is get 5 conversations a week. And sometimes, I mean, I hate to always put a number to it because it's not a guarantee, but if you get a number in your head, the more conversations you have, the more likely somebody is going to know somebody who can open a door. And to find those people, I mean, I know you went to one of the Seven Sisters schools, right? I would tap into that network. I know there's a lot of Seven Sisters alums in England and throughout Europe. And I think I would just continue to go down that path of the conversations, because even if you talk to someone who has nothing to do with the industry that you want to go into, right? You end up meeting, I don't know, somebody who's a bridges, engineer or something, right? You have no idea who they know. When I lived in Boston, one of the people who helped more of my clients get jobs than anybody was a bartender. I'd walk in and he would be like, so who are you helping this week? And I would drop something and he would be like, oh yeah, Joe over there, he was complaining he can never find good people to work for him.
Yeah, like meeting the connectors.
So leverage, yeah,
Oh, yeah.
right? Leverage all those things, and just because you might feel like you're probably not the best at this, but I watch you and you are doing all the things. I mean, you started a group on where random people have gotten together and you
Yeah.
meet people. And I think it's just continuing to have those conversations. And then if you're not getting interviews, I know people say it's who you know. Yeah, that's some of it, but it's also it's the resume, which sucks. Is it getting through the applicant tracking systems? You know, SHRM, the Society for Human Resource Managers, released something last month that it was 90% of companies now are using applicant tracking systems. So 90% of companies are using some sort of AI tool for that first glance at a resume. So sometimes, and I'm happy to look at it, I'm sure Kristine would look at your resume too, right? We could all give feedback on what gets through those applicant tracking systems. But sometimes it's small things that make a big difference on a resume.
I guess one thing I've been struggling with, like as you mentioned, I feel like I'm doing all of this stuff, and I see other people that are doing maybe less of the stuff, or I'm not aware of it, but they have like a different professional past than me. They worked at a big name in the past and they have managed to like get a job, and I'm finding it so hard in terms of comparison. Like Taylor, you're mentioning you're comparing yourself to your past self. Like I'm comparing myself to all of my peers, and it doesn't feel good. I know I should stop doing it, but like it's easier said than done when you have a very like the person that, you know, you went to, like, that I finished my master's degree with that now has a good job. And
So, Lili, what's the story you're telling yourself?
I don't know. I just am the story. A little bit of the story is like maybe I feel a bit self-conscious about how my career has been thus far, that it's been very entrepreneurial, and I really like that I love what I've done in podcasts, that I worked, you know, a contract gig in Australia, but now I'm feeling a bit self-conscious because I think I'm entering an industry where it's very like it's a bit more corporate career ladder. You know, you do a grad scheme and then you get the associate role, then you get whatever it is, and because I don't have that base layer that some of my peers have, I feel a bit self-conscious, especially when I go into interviews or even networking calls.
Yeah.
When people ask me, so tell me about yourself, and I have to do this whole roadmap squiggle, whereas a ton of my peers will say, well, I worked at, you know, Deloitte for 2 years. And it's just
okay. I'm going to jump in. I'm jumping in here, Lili. On a scale of 1 to 5, how much are you truly owning your story?
Maybe like 3.
And that's going to come across. You have to fully own your story because the passion, the excitement, the confidence, the je ne sais quoi, as we say in Canada, will ooze. And that's what people are missing, is that they're missing your light. So you're dimming your light and you're hiding, and what happens is we don't tell it. We then start telling this disjointed story.
Yeah.
I remember years ago, this guy, he'd gone through our MBA program. This was back in higher ed story. And it sticks out. And I'm going to share it with you because he came into my office and he was just like, MBA wasted time, can't get a job, blah, 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 blah. And so I was like, okay. And so as we all know, MBA schools, and I just saw one recently, have this template that they make their students use. It's 1 page. Everybody knows that when you, like most people, when they go back to do an MBA or a master's, they go back with experience. And for whatever reason, they make them strip the experience in the story. So here I am sitting there in my office, and I start peeling away the onion. This guy's background was magnificent. Okay. Nowhere on this resume was the story being reflected. So I said, screw the 1 pager. We are putting this on 2 pages. he now lives in Australia as the VP of something, super successful. But what it took was me helping to pull him back to his true story. Mm-hmm. So he was basically presenting himself from masters forward. Okay. And he was not bringing any of this previous experience into his story. That was a game-changing moment. And so when we hide parts of us, yes, absolutely, we have to filter through what makes sense in this conversation, what makes sense in this interview. But if we're leaving parts of our story out because we think, we never want to make an assumption, it's not going to be powerful enough, then now what you're doing is you are not authentically showing up, and you're doing this awkward dance around what could be the most beautiful story that actually gets you through to the next round or gets you in front of the right person or whatever it might be.
Yeah.
And so my invitation to you is to really stop and pause in those moments when the narrative and the story is, the comparison and the this, and I don't have that company, is to stop and pause and go, but what actually do I bring forward? What makes me unique? What makes me be that colored crayon in the box that actually stands out? Because that's what it is we need to make ourselves stand out and say, hey, these are the reasons why you need to hire me. This is where I'm going to add value, and here's how I'm going to use my experience in this role that you're hiring for. Mm-hmm. I'll pause there. Does that land?
Like, so totally, because as you were saying, like the disjointed, that's exactly. I think there's been times where I have really like embodied the story a lot better, and then there's been times where I've had a conversation on a day where I'm just not feeling good, and it's just like I can't see the through line. Maybe the problem is I don't see the through line clearly. Like it's almost when you're thinking about yourself, like I can't say it. Like I need someone else to come in and tell me what I should be saying a little bit.
Yeah. And this is where, like, again, it kind of goes back to what we did with Taylor, where we got her out of her mind. We got, right? Like, if you are going into job search from here up, yeah, you're going to be, you're trying to control the thought and what do they want to hear? And does this, right? And you're all disjointed. But if you can embody your story and own your story and speak from the, I mean, it sounds so wooey, but when you can actually speak from the heart, yeah, of course, our thinking minds have to play a role. But if we're scripting and we're not truly like letting our energetic vibe show up, people are they're gonna be like, I don't like. Did she make this story up? Is this true? Like, I'm not really sure. Is she convincing herself or is she convincing me?
So Lily, we can help you with this. I mean,
yeah, I think I might need help,
right? And so,
yeah.
Well, and you don't need a lot of help because, like I said, you're doing all the right boxes. You're doing all the right things, and I think if we can get your resume to make it through those ATS spots, so someone that you can get to the interview, right? The only point for a resume is to get an interview. It's the only point. It
just gets you through the door.
Yeah,
and then you get to tell your story. It's about the story. So let's get you
telling. And you tell stories all the time on this. You tell them on TikTok. You're good at it. But my guess is that you get that little voice in your head that says, oh God, like the person coming in after me has 2 years at Deloitte. The person coming in after them has 2 years at McKinsey. And that might not be what they want.
Right.
But might not even be true, though. We don't know who's coming in behind you.
Right.
Yeah.
So let's get you good at owning your story.
I know. And I do, like, I say that I'm self-conscious about it, but I also think that my entrepreneurial side thus far is my biggest strength. And I think I bring a lot more than someone that was at Deloitte for 2 years in a lot of ways. Like many people, I think my biggest strength is when I say I want to do something, I actually do it. Whereas 95% of people only just say they want to do it. Like when I said I want to start a podcast editing and management business, I actually did it. Whereas so many people will say they want to start, a business or whatever, or start creating content like me and Taylor, and they like the amount of people that come to me every week and say, I wish I could post online. I want to post online. And then they never do it is like, I think it's my biggest strength. And I just need to find a way for it to, or I need to be able to tell it in a much more like cohesive and authentic way. Mm-hmm. It's been hard for me to figure out how to.
It's telling that story. Mm-hmm. I mean, I have worksheets and like almost handouts that kind of can help you kind of build that story for yourself, so you can kind of write it through. And then, you know, your authentic side shines through, right? Mm-hmm. Because when you tell those stories, your face lights up. You know, I can tell when I'm coaching somebody, if I ask them to tell me 3 stories, you can tell when they're telling you the stories that you want to hear versus the story that they're super excited to hear. The other one that I do, ask each other the story. Have Taylor tell you your best story. Right? I make people ask 5 people to tell them their best story about them. Yeah. It's amazing when you kind of get that, you know, somebody else holding the mirror up to you and what other people see, because it'll go a long way, and it will help you to kind of put that together. And for other folks, they find it easier even to say on an interview, well, all of my friends tell me, all of my colleagues tell me, all of my clients tell me I am this. Yeah. Right? Which gives even some more oomph behind it.
For sure. Yeah. This has been very helpful, and I'll have to come back to you guys for some more help as well, because because
I know
this is Kristine and
I know. Yeah, I could talk for hours on this. You know what, Lili? I'm just going to leave you with this, and and we can dive more into it offline. With those moments where the storytelling starts to show up, one of the questions that I ask myself when I start to have a moment where I might be, like we ebb and flow, and if I'm starting to tell myself a story, is I stop and pause and I say, how much data do I have to back this story up? 99% of the time, I have 0 data to back up the story. Okay. Now I have a choice in that moment. Do I want to go and down that rabbit hole and see if I can find some data to back up my story? Sure, that's an option. Or the 99% of the time, the answer is no. And then I'm just able to move on from the story. Or I can flip the script and I go, so what do I actually know to be true in this moment? Well, the truth is that and then you can fill in the blank.
Yeah.
It's like I'm bringing the whole neuroscience piece into this, but that's essentially what you are like. You will continue to stand in your own way when we tell ourselves stories that essentially aren't even true.
So good. Well, you guys really just showed everyone why Embrace the Squiggle is such a fantastic podcast, and everyone should absolutely go listen. You guys are so fantastic at what you do. I'm really glad that we had you on for this a bit unconventional episode of Packing Up and Piecing Out. Where can our listeners find you guys?
I'm on LinkedIn and Instagram at Kristine Thody. Those are the 2 best places to find me.
I'm on LinkedIn at Colleen Del Vecchio, and also Maxity and Embrace the Squiggle on TikTok. Is our big exciting place these days, thanks to Lili encouraging my TikTok.
I know, I encouraged it, and now she's just blown me out of the water. She's this big influencer over on Embrace the Squiggle, so everyone follow. And go listen to Embrace the Squiggle. Thank you guys so much for coming on.
Thanks, Lili.
Thank you both. That was so helpful.
Thanks, Taylor.
That's all for this episode of Packing Up and Piecing Out.
If you liked it, hit subscribe, follow us at Pack Up, Piece Out, and leave us a review. It helps more packers up and piecers out find us.
And for more of our unfiltered takes on life abroad, follow me at Taylor Takes Prague.
And me at A Rich Woman's World. We'll see you at the airport.